Hello, friends, and welcome in to Leading Off on Fantasy Pros. Would you look at my guest today? Look at the guest today. That's not Chris Clegg. That's Julio Rodriguez joining the show, or at least a picture of Julio Rodriguez. Chris Clegg running a little bit late. I don't even know if he's going to join us, and wouldn't have had a nice overlay. So joining me, I know how to work under the punch here, guys. I know how to make it work. On Leading Off on Fantasy Pros today, it's me and the oh so wonderful Julio Rodriguez. Hi, Julio. How are you doing? He says he's doing good. For everybody watching on the video, let's make sure his hat's in there. It's a good picture of me and Julio. It's really not Chris Clegg. I should have gotten the overlay to show Julio Rodriguez. But hi, everybody. Hi, Peanuts and Cracker Jacks. You can find me on Twitter at IsItTheWelsh. And let's interact and let's have some fun on a Friday, because we're not going to have an episode. We're not going to not have an episode if we're missing somebody. Yes, friends, that guy's going to hang with me for the show. We got a lot of stuff to get to. Your questions are welcome. A little bit later in the show, we'll answer some of your questions. I will star them in the chat. So if you guys have got any for this weekend, streamers, next week, pickups, next season, whatever it is, drop it in the chat. And I will make sure to start, and we will get it at the end of the episode. But me and Julio, we're going to move on. We're going to get into the show. And the Braves have activated second baseman Ozzie Albies from the 60-day IL, finally getting back into action. You're going to get him, which is going to mean Vaughn Grissom is going to be moving to the outfield, I believe. I mean, I'm believing this is going to be starting as of today, if you guys follow me. And looking at Ozzie Albies before the injury, 8 homers, 3 stolen bases, 244 batting average in about 62 games before he was knocked down. So Ozzie Albies is going to jump right back into it. Vaughn Grissom, I always struggle with the Grissom versus Grisham. Vaughn Grissom, who will not most likely get you eligibility in the outfield due to just the amount of times that are left, but he will have second base. And has hit 304, 5 homers, 5 stolen bases in that time, under 20% K percentage. That's why they're not going to knock him off of this spot. That's why he's not going to be put in a situation where that's why you're not going to see him. I don't know if you got double audio there. That's why you're not going to see him in a situation where he's not getting time. So he's going to be out there. He's going to be rolling. And he's going to be playing some outfield as they were working him recently. So 5 homers, 5 stolen bases. Vaughn Grissom, there you go. Interesting stat from Wonky, or just note. Juan Soto went 0 for 4 with a pair of strikeouts on Thursday, the pitcher we'll talk about, and a shutout loss to the Diamondbacks. The 23-year-older has not homered in 16 straight games since August 28th, now hitting 202. 375 OBP, with 3 homers and 7 RBI in 35 games since being acquired last month from the Nationals. Okay. Juan Soto been struggling. Julio, what do you think about Juan Soto's value coming in next year? Julio? Okay, no. Julio, as you can see, Julio is very positive about the value next season, which I completely understand. I'm going to be relatively positive, but I do think there's a potential that you're going to see Soto drop out of the first round. He's one of those few guys that can hit so poorly and can, will have the ability to stay in his relative spot, but I just don't think he's going to be a first rounder. You know what I would liken this to? I actually think this would be similar to when Mookie Betts struggled, when you would see the poor year of Mookie Betts where it was like 20 and his batting average is down in 260s, and he went around 15, 16, 17, somewhere in there. That's where I think Soto's going to end up being. So I think you can liken it similar to Mookie Betts' struggles and how he fared there. By the way, does the chat not love my co-host today? Should have went with a pick of Joe. I should have went with a pick of Joe. I mean, I am literally have a second camera going here, and I pulled up a Julio Rodriguez living set card that I have because I figured he'd be a good guest. But how have I not gotten love for this adjustment that I've made for my co-host today? It's crazy. It's crazy. Dre Jameson. So let's talk about this. A couple of those strikeouts came because Dre Jameson with the Arizona Diamondbacks made his major league debut. He went 7 innings on Thursday. He got the win. He ended up striking out 5 in a really, really impressive performance, by the way. That it wasn't quite what I said. I was like, I could see him getting blown out. but I could also see him being put in a situation where he would end up striking out a whole bunch. He didn't actually do that. He ended up striking out. He ended up striking out 5 instead of the 8, and it was a pretty good performance. So real quick, we are going to bring in the actual co-host today that we lost, Julio. Thank you very much, Julio, for hanging out with us. They don't know, Rookie of the Year, but the real guy is right there, Chris Clegg. Thank you.
So sorry, guys. I had a little something come up, but we're here. I know it's not the best to be late, but we're here, and I'm excited to join you, Welsh.
I was struggling a bit there, but Julio came in. Oh, I didn't get any love on Julio, by the way, for co-hosting with me on that beautiful picture. But I was just talking about Dre Jameson. I was kind of expecting there to be one of two outcomes. I was expecting big, dominant strikeout performance, or for him to get blown up. I was just kind of in the middle. Diamondbacks pitchers absolutely dominate the Padres for whatever reason that is. These young pitchers, the PCL, Dre Jameson had like a 5 ERA, just didn't matter because it's a PCL where these guys get lit up. He came in, and it's a pretty good performance, 72% fastball usage, though one is designated as a sinker, and he really can make it die. He didn't get really any whiffs on it. His slider was his big whiff pitch. He had a 50% swing and whiff percentage on it. He threw it around 17% of the time. And his changeup, which might be his best secondary, he only threw 9 of them the whole time. It didn't get, it had a couple swing throughs, 1 miss, but it was a pretty good performance where he had command, which was the shocker of shockers. I don't know if you got to catch any of the performance. What do you think about Dre Jameson and what was like a pretty poor minor league season, but looked really good on Thursday?
Yeah, he was impressive. Not to the standpoint of what you thought, like you said, maybe big strikeout stuff. We didn't see that, but overall, a really solid performance. You have to wonder when we think about a season like this, where anything about the PCL. I mean, Jameson was so good in 2021, and then this year the PCL kind of threw him off. And for what it's worth, that's a very hitter-friendly environment. So Jameson's an interesting one. I think that there's still something to like there. Does he continue to get starts down the stretch? I don't know. We'll see. But I've always liked Jameson a bit. Good fastball. I mentioned the changeup being a good pitch as well. Walks have been a concern, but we have kind of seen that trend downward a bit this year, which I think was encouraging. So we'll see moving forward. But I think the Diamondbacks want to see what they have in Jameson at this point. So
yeah, I like it. By the way, I just one of the biggest missed opportunities, and it's being pointed out to me. Donnie said I should have had Joe. This is my biggest missed opportunity of the year. So, Chris had an issue he was dealing with. I have multiple different copies of the Fantasy Black Book, and I should have taken, because in the Fantasy Black Book is a picture, is Joe PCP has a blue steel picture. And I should have put that over here as it's the biggest missed opportunity of 2022 that I could have put blue steel over here, and I could have just done impressions of Joe. I'm so sorry I let you guys down, chat. I really could have done that. But getting to the actual stuff, yeah, Dre Jameson, I'm impressed with, and I'm impressed overall with what the Diamondbacks have in a lot of these guys. Ryan Nelson, how I think it's going to shape out those. I think Ryan Nelson's going to be a starter. I think Brandon Pfaadt, who we have not seen, is going to be a starter. Led the minor leagues in strikeouts this past season with over 200. And I think Dre Jameson and maybe even Tommy Henry are guys that are going to end up going to the bullpen. Dre Jameson can be the closer type, but this type of performance of him being able to go 7, to not be erratic and show an arsenal of pitches is how he can be a starter. So I would throw it out. I think I might be willing to get down on his next start, him and Ryan Nelson. They just both have been really impressive. And, Dre Jameson is an incredible athlete. I think I've told the story before. In a camp about a year ago, Corbin Carroll. Corbin Carroll, pretty fast. One of the fastest guys was 31 sprint speed. One of the fastest guys in elite speed. And they've got at the back of the Diamondbacks field, they've got this great artificial track where these guys stretch and stuff, and it's really long. It's probably about 75 yards or so. And Dre Jameson and Corbin Carroll raced each other, and Dre won. He's an athlete. He beat Corbin Carroll in a foot race. So this is a monster athlete with an arsenal of pitches. And if it goes right, this is the type of guy who's going to get a whole bunch of strikeouts and is going to be able to be an absolute dude. On the prospect front, Clegg, since you're here, and I figured we were going to talk about a few prospects, probably the last of the major prospects that come. I know I say that there's still a couple weeks. They're trying to get some players, some extra time. We're actually in a space. The Arizona Fall League is releasing their rosters today, and they've already released Salt Rivers. And the only reason I'm mentioning this is, like, because of the call up, we're not going to get Corbin Carroll in the AFL. We're not going to get Gunnar Henderson. And teams have also made some decisions on players, one of being Matt Mervis. If anyone pays attention, Matt Mervis with the Cubs was really dominant in the minor leagues this year. A guy that you could argue maybe would have really benefited from like 2 weeks in the majors and done whatever. But as I'm told, he will be in the AFL, so is not going to be a guy they're going to call up. And so teams can still do it if they want, but I think for the most part, we've kind of got our look. Maybe we'll get one random one. This is all to circle around and say Jordan Groshans maybe being the last guy that was going to get his major call up. He was traded earlier this year to the Marlins. He had his first career home run. He struggled as far as power goes. I think his slugging in AAA this year was 416. Not a big power guy. Was seen as a big prospect at the time. I think he's really fallen off. But get your take on Jordan Groshans the rest of the year.
He's honestly looked a bit different since being traded, which is certainly encouraging. You mentioned his slug in AAA in Miami, but it was 296 in Toronto, which is horrific. You're running a 350 OBP and a 296 slugging. And that's nearly over 300 plate appearances. Not good. And I think a lot of Groshans was some projectability, and we just didn't really see him develop. The hit tool's there. Certainly good to see the power, at least early on. And even in Miami in AAA, 2 home runs and 133 plate appearances being traded over. So Groshans is interesting. Not as high on him as I once was, but I do think there's a little bit of fantasy intrigue if he can sustain some of the power gains that we've seen, at least over the last month or so, because there is a good feel to hit there with Groshans, good contact skills overall. And we'll see. I'm not expecting much this year. Like, I'm not sure for redraft he's super valuable, but from a long-term perspective, I still think there's a little bit of interesting in Groshans' profile.
Yeah, and it's at the end of the day, it's about, sorry, I was doing something. I was knocking stuff around in the background. It's also about like opportunity and being able to get the opportunity here. He's God, I'm trying to put my finger on how I want to say the type of guy he is. It might be like an Alec Bohm, if you really want to think about it. Alec Bohm, just a non-high power player that can hit for some contact. Once he gets going, you put him in that spot. But if you got 20 homers, you would probably be really happy. But I could see him hitting in the middle of a Marlins lineup. That is what would be the most intriguing. Not this year, but going into next year if people care about it. On the injury front, J.D. Brubaker left Thursday's start against the Mets with right lat discomfort, and Alejandro Kirk was held out of Thursday's lineup with hip discomfort. Is Alejandro Kirk going to be a top 3 catcher for you next year? I think top 5 is kind of like a no-brainer, but do you think he'll be in the top 3? Because you're battling Remuto, obviously Adley. I think Varsho has to be in that spot. Do you think he can top the top 3?
I don't know. The top's pretty crowded, and with Real Muto, he struggled first half, but he's been just pretty dominant. The second half of the year, Varsho obviously quietly putting up the good power speed. You have Will Smith too to think about. So it's tough. I think Kirk probably is 4 or 5. And also think about Adley. Like, Adley's second half has been incredible. So a lot of talent at catcher. So it's tough. Kirk's just as talented and can produce, but you certainly have Real Muto and Varsho at the top thanks to their stolen base potential and speed.
Exactly. And I just want to point out, our boy Dang in here dropped a comment. Any comments you guys have, we'll try to answer a couple questions at the end here. It could be prospect related, might make a lot of sense with me and Clegg on here on the little Chris and Chris action, but just throwing it out to you guys. In 1997, this day in baseball, Phillies' Curt Schilling struck out 9 in a Phillies win over the New York Mets to become the 13th pitcher since 1900 with 300 strikeouts in a season. When was the last 300 strikeout season? Do we know? Was it recent? I feel like it wasn't. When was the last?
I have no idea, to be honest.
300 strikeout. Because I feel like, to me, that is one of the most impressive markers that we can get here. Let's see. 300 strikeout seasons in baseball.
Did Scherzer do it?
Let's see. I'm looking here. It's not breaking. This is just breaking down the people that have done it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say if this is okay, Verlander did it in this is why Verlander did it in 2019,
Okay.
where he hit the 300 strikeout marker, and Garrett Cole also did it in 19. Scherzer did it in 18, Sale in 17. So it's like you might get one or two a year, but we haven't had it obviously with the COVID season. And then in 2015, Kershaw. But I think those are the only ones in the last. Yeah, those are the only ones in the last like 20-ish years or so that have pulled up a 300 strikeout season until Spencer Strider does it next year. You know what I mean? That's my
Love
guy.
that.
Let's go through some stat heroes. Yoan Moncada now. 4 for 5 with a homer and RBI, 2 runs. Brandon Marsh, a perfect 4 for 4 with 2 RBI. Isak Paredes had a bomb. Ketel Marte had a rare performance of offensive output, 2 for 3 with a homer. Brian De La Cruz had a home run. Aristides Aquino, the Punisher, has been doing so lately. We were talking about him on ITL and how he's just getting playing time right now, and he's going. Homer. Carlos Correa had a homer. Salvador Perez, Aledmys Diaz, and Yasmani Grandal. Do you have hope for Aristides? I think it's no doubt right now. Aristides Aquino is a guy you go pick up, right a hot hand if you're looking for homers. Do you think there's going to be anything for him next season?
I have no clue with what direction the Reds are going to go. Certainly, there could be a spot. I mean, he's had his streaks where he certainly looks valuable, but I just fear that's what it's going to be with him. It's just going to be these hot streaks that we ride out for a couple weeks to a month, and that's kind of it. So I think the playing time's probably going to be inconsistent with him.
Yeah, I'm kind of a buy. Also, Brandon Marsh is one of those players that this new destination has just been such a good spot for him. I don't know if also, the learning aspect of working with Harper, like Harper and Castellanos have both been players that, have had a lot of tutelage with guys. Bryce Harper has worked with Bryson Stott and Alec Boehm and is trying to be a leader. And there just seems to be a new home for Brandon Marsh, and it seems to be like a relevant fantasy destination, which I think is apparent. And Isak Paredes is just, I love Isak Paredes. He does it. On the pitching side, Dre Jameson, 5 strikeouts, as we mentioned, only 1 walk, 2 hits, over 7. Carlos Carrasco, 6 innings, struck out 11. He had 2 walks and 4 hits. Lance McCullers, who I think was on our prop marker last week or last show. Lance McCullers went 6, struck out 11 in 2 hits, but he did walk 4. Shane McClanahan in that return, 5 innings, 5 strikeouts, a walk, and a couple hits. And Chase Anderson went 5, struck out 3. On the stat zeros, Oneil Cruz. He had 3 strikeouts with 4. Can you believe it? I'll bet you those strikeouts, though. I'll bet you the velocity of the bat that swung through those balls was the fastest in all of baseball. I'll bet no one has swung harder and faster through probably horrible pitches than Oneil Cruz. So let's give him some credit, guys. Nobody swings through him better than Oneil. Ben Gamble and Jake Swinski also 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts. On the pitcher side, Hunter Gaddis, 4 innings, 7 earned runs, gave up 5 homers. I don't know when the last time we've had a 5-homer game here. And JT Brubaker, 3 innings, 5 earned runs with a home run. I think we like this. Wonky set this up, by the way. She does a show sheet, which, by the way, we should always give a hand to Wonky for the great show stuff puts together. And I just doll up a few things later. But she did. Do you like how I led with Cruz Welsh? That is my gift to you. Wonky did that, and yes, I do, of course. And again, if I hope I'm around even more after this season ends. But like, you're gonna see a turn next season where I will be more pro Oneil Cruz. I just was never pro this season on a rookie year. Where have you stood on the Oneil Cruz front? I'm not sure we've talked about that, Clegg.
I've never gone as high as some prospect people. I feel like somebody just pushed him up like crazy towards the end of last season, and then he had that stretch when he came up where he just dominated, and everybody just went berserk. Like this was going to be, the next coming of whichever player you want to name was going to be elite. And I just wasn't quite buying in. The long levers, the swing and miss. There were some concerns. The power speed, undeniable, but you have to make good contact to be able to get to that. And that's been my concern. I think he'll be fine, but I don't think he's going to be elite, honestly.
Probably not. Probably not. But it will. I don't know. I mean, I say, you know, when I say probably not, I have to take that back. That's my brain into this year. Is if the right changes are made, he's got the skill set of a player that could be the number one overall fantasy guy. He could easily drop a 30-30 season. I wouldn't be shocked. It's just you have to make good contact. He didn't show any of that this year. Probably come up into the near future. Friends, let's go look at some home run calls yesterday. Oh boy, Cat Fox, the leader, is the only person on the board would have been on the board if I had a piece of art to show you guys that had a home run, with Salvi Perez now a 3 home run lead, trying to move away. 54 for Cat Fox, Elsko with 51, D Blum and High Cubby with 50. Only 4 people with 50 called home runs. We've got Go Cards and Helpless in Miami both down there at 49. The race is getting very tight as we are coming to the end, and we'll be crowning a winner. I have to find out too. I don't remember what the prize is. Are we going to have a prize for? I imagine Fantasy Pros will have a nice prize for the home run contest, just like we have for the subscribe, rate, and review, where you guys can get that Austin Riley 2021 signed World Series baseball. All you got to do is subscribe to the podcast, rate it, review it in the month of September, and someone's going to win. Pretty awesome. Let's go and check out. I guess I got to do this, right? It's been one of those shows today. That's right, BetMGM. They've actually got a whole bunch of props today. They're on the plus side. Yes, we're wearing the crowns. I don't know how the hair is right now. How can we do this? Can we make it look good? Yeah, we'll flow the hair a little bit. There we go. We'll flow it up a little bit. Looks like I have a perm or anything. I'll put on the tiara. I'll put on the crown for BetMGM any day. And I'll also use the promo code leading off. And if you guys do, you guys can get hooked up with a potentially a $1,000 risk-free first bet. They got a whole bunch of bets. I have also said they do a fantastic job at giving you a whole bunch of free bets as you go. So it's definitely the sportsbook to check out. Go and check them out, kings and queens. Put on your crown or tiara and celebrate with BetMGM. And the promo code leading off. All right, we're all fixed here. I've got some bets here, and Chris, I want to see what you have to think about them. The number one bet of all of them on Betting Pros prop cheat sheet is Mike Trout today is sporting a 1 total base. It's a half, so you need to get 1. He's projected at 2.5 on BetMGM. It is juiced, though, at minus 185, but you just need 1 hit today. Now, MGM also has the number 1 plus money play, according to Betting Pros algorithm, and that's Dermis Garcia with the A's. We've seen him multiple times. Just got to get 1. He's projected at 1.5, but you got to get 1 total base if you want to play some total base props. If you want to go to the strikeouts, these are really good. Justin Verlander's return has him having the number 1 strikeout prop of the day on FanDuel, minus 134. You just need 6 strikeouts. That's it. They're projecting him at 7.3, and it's 5.5 is the number. Love that bet. And Robbie Ray is your plus money play of the day versus LA. 6.5 is the number. You need 7. And on DraftKings, they're giving you plus 115. So, Clegg, what do you think here? Anything that you're going to dance with? Multiple? We've got Robbie Ray and Verlander on the strikeouts, Dermis and Mike Trout on the total bases.
Well, the Trout one on the total base is a pretty easy one, even though, as you mentioned, minus 185. But still, it's been insane what Trout's done since coming back. You know, he's got 98 plate appearances since coming back with 11 home runs, 311 average, 367 OBP, 711 slug, by the way. So he's just been insanely good. So feel pretty confident with him hitting, 1 total base today, as he's been, consistently doing that. The Dermis one is tough. I'm not sure that I love it. I do like both of the strikeout props, though. I feel pretty good about Verlander coming back. Usually, I'm not one to go crazy for pitchers coming back from injury, but with Verlander, he hasn't missed that much time, and you've seen what he's done this year. I feel pretty good projecting the over on 5.5. And though Robbie Ray's had some inconsistencies, he's gone over 6.5 in most of his starts recently. I know his last 2 he hasn't. Atlanta had 6, and then against Cleveland he had 3. But I do feel pretty good about that going against the Angels lineup. Kind of meh. So I like both the Verlander and Ray, and then the Mike Trout option as well.
Yeah, and it's a little bummer. Like the 3, I'm not really interested in the Dermis one. I really like the other 3. They're all from different books, though. So just check it out. If you're going to BetMGM, who's got the Trout one, they probably have something similar on Verlander and Robbie Ray. The Verlander one is one I would probably target. Guy returning from injury. I totally get it. But as far as a matchup goes, it's a great matchup. This is a player that once healthy, he gets back, he can go 7. It reminds me of like the Clayton Kershaw one. So I would love to pair Trout and Verlander together today. And like I said, I bet you MGM has got something similar to what FanDuel is putting out for Verlander. Those would be two I would put. So I kind of dig those. Over on the DFS side, we did have we have both some prices on DraftKings and FanDuel today. DraftKings, Verlander was 11, Max Fried 10-1, Robbie Ray 9-8, and Flaherty is around 7. If you want to go over to FanDuel for your locked-in solo player, Verlander's around 11, same price actually as DraftKings. Max Fried 10-4, just a notch above. Robbie Ray's a little bit more expensive at 10-6, and you also have Lucas Giolito at 9. If you're wanting to put together, I didn't do the 5 implied runs because it's the teams that you expect. It's the Astros, it's the Cards, all that. But I did look at some of the higher implied run totals that are close to that might be a little bit more juicy. And the White Sox, the Mariners, and the Marlins might be a couple teams you might want to look for some stacks on that you can put some players that are high in the lineup. I think that would be pretty good. We had one question to answer, and Dang had said, what the heck happened to Esteury Ruiz? He was going to steal me 30 bases, then got traded to Washington in the Soto deal. He has 1 steal since. Esteury Ruiz was traded to Brewers. He's with the Brewers. He actually stole 5 bases in a minor league game the other day. Leads the entire minor leagues in stolen bases. So I think you might have the players confused. Maybe you were thinking of CJ Abrams. I'm thinking you're thinking of CJ Abrams there and not Esteury. But speaking of Esteury, any thoughts on Esteury moving forward into next season with his 70+ stolen bases?
I mean, the steals are certainly enticing. The powers, I guess, kind of my question with what kind of power does he get to? Does it hinder him from being fantasy relevant? And I think that's really the biggest question that I have. And we saw a little power breakout from him this year. And I'm just not sure how much of it is legit based on the hitting environment that he was in both double and triple A with the Padres. So the field of hit's good, though, and the stolen bases are kind of undeniable. So Ruiz has been a tough one for me to rank. It seems like he should get regular run in the Brewers org. But again, that outfield's kind of stacked with just like mediocre guys that they like running out. So, I mean, you have Yelich, and then they're playing a wide variety of guys. Plus, they're loaded in AAA at this point. Sal Frelick and Joey Weimer. And, Jackson Churrio's coming. So, it's tough to know what they're going to do with Ruiz.
Yeah. Let's see. JP had a question. Bubba Thompson or Fraley head-to-head cat?
I think it depends on what you think you need more. I mean, what you're going to get from Thompson is going to be stolen bases. Fraley's a little more well-rounded, at least from the power speed standpoint. Could give you a couple steals, but more likely to get some homers. So I think it comes down to just need, personally.
Yeah, and I think Dang was saying Ruiz had 50 before the break, dropped him for James Wood. That is the correct move still.
Yes.
James Wood in the long term is good. But yeah, with the Bubba Thompson thing, I think over the last 2 weeks, Bubba Thompson's had 7 stolen bases, and he had a couple multi ones. So steals, it's hands down Bubba, but Fraley hits at the top of the lineup. Great against, I want to say it was against lefties. So Fraley's a good pickup, I think, for overall. Bubba is your stolen base play. It's like a no-brainer there. There's some good questions. And let's go over to the home run call. Now, check this out. Wonky is going with Julio Rodriguez. And listen, because of our early co-host of the show, Julio Rodriguez. Yes, he was here just a tiny bit ago. I got to go with Julio today. Julio's got to be my call. It's destiny that I ride with Wonky here for Julio Rodriguez because he joined the show. Mayor has got Vladdy. Clegg, who do you want for your home run call for the day?
I'm going with, this is
I feel like you should go with Ozzy Albies in the return of your team. You should be having your player.
Yeah, I mean, possibly, but I don't know. Man, I don't know what to expect of him coming back. So you know what? I'm going to go with Yordan Alvarez, who has 2 home runs over the last 4 games, and pretty good matchup tonight against Adrian Martinez, where he's kind of home run prone, and it's in Houston. So I like that. Yordan.
I also think Vaughn Grissom should have a homer today, being moved to the outfield. Here's one last good question. Go Cards. Webb versus the Dodgers or Montas versus Milwaukee? I'm going to go Montas versus Milwaukee.
Yeah, I want to lean Montas as well, even though he's kind of been less than stellar, but I would go that way.
Clegg, what do you got going on? What's going down?
Not too much, man. Just the season wraps up, kind of wrapping up regular season content. We've got 2 more quick grades, man. We got this week's, and then we'll have 1 more full week. So sad that the season's winding down, but hey, the dynasty stuff never ends, and that's what I love about dynasty balls, prospect evals, and dynasty work is all year, and that's what I'll be working on as this wraps up. So.
This is very, very true. I've also got James Anderson from RotoWire coming on with me to break down the end of the season. The AFL rosters are getting released today. 1 full, 1 half. So I will probably do a second Prospect One episode if people are into the prospects that are for Dynasty. So make sure you subscribe to that. Follow me on Twitter, is at the Welsh Roto Clegg for all his stuff. And wait, hold on a second. We got Clegg. I'm so sorry. You're getting kicked off here for a second. And I know you guys can't see me here. It's a weird thing, but we've got a special guest here. What is that Joe Pisapia? Oh, look at Joe Pisapia. He's here. Hey yo, everybody. Aaron Judge. I like swords. It's Joe Pisapia here under the Roto Clegg. Look at that picture, ladies and gentlemen. That man will be back next week. As far as I know, he had put himself on the schedule. He will be joining me for the last episode, which actually is not next week. It's the week after. Joe Pisapia will be back. But look at that face. The story of the game goes on. For Welsh, I'm Joe Pisapia. Hey, yo. Goodbye, friends.